I am on a journey to finish the Bible as a whole. But you can't finish the Bible and reveal what God is trying to say if you don't start from the beginning. This is the book of Genesis. Hey! What's up? Hold up. Give me a sec. What's up, Talk Nation? We're back. Hopefully the camera quality is looking a little bit nice. But we are on episode 3 of the canon. Can't believe we made it. But episode 3, and today we're going to be reviewing a little bit of episode number 2. And we get introduced to a new character with 2 decisions that were brought forth with one choice that was made. And the consequence of that choice. Plus we're finally getting to know the name of our female character, or by her name right now is Woman by Adam. But we're going to find out what her new name is going to be. And at the end, we're going to learn a little bit about the eviction from paradise. And revisiting the assignment God gives us in Genesis chapter 2, we are directed to verse 17, where God gives Adam and the woman a directive not to eat from the tree in the midst of the garden, known as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which plays a big part in chapter 3. In Genesis chapter 3 verse 1, we are introduced to, according to the Bible, the world's most subtle beast, being the serpent, and also witness the world's first ever persuasion that takes place, which leads us into one of the biggest conversations that happens in human history. Now, the first thing this serpent decides to say is, "Yea, has God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" Bro's already acting suspicious. He's in awe. He's questioning whether something was said or not. So the way this character is moving around, he seems like a snake. He's moving suspicious. And the way he works is, in Genesis chapter 3 verses 1, he decides to say, "Are you sure that you're going to die?" And verses 2 to 3, he goes even further to make the woman decide to doubt. So she starts to doubt. She's like, well, he said not to eat from the tree or touch from the tree, lest we surely die. And then in verses 4, what he decides to say, "And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die." So he flats out lies and goes against what God gave Adam and the woman in chapter 2. So the serpent is saying, yo, are you sure you're gonna die? You're not gonna die. You'll be fine. He's just trying to hide the knowledge from you. He doesn't want you to understand good and evil. And the woman is saying, but God said not to do that or we'll die. So there's a predicament. There's 2 choices. Either eat the fruit or ignore the serpent. There are 2 choices that must be made. Yet one decision. One decision. Now that we know that the woman is faced with the decision, what did she ultimately do? And we can find this in Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, where she begins to change her perspective and lose sight of what God is trying to tell her. And it says, the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired to make one wise. The serpent tempted the woman with power. He said, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil, in the previous verse 5. And she's like, it looks good. Looks like I can eat it. And I'll get knowledge like God. So she entertains the temptation and sadly falls for it. But what does Adam do? Adam is faced with the same 2 choices. And just like his wife, he also did eat. And then things began to change within their world. So what happens after this series of events? What happens after they eat the fruit, after Adam and the woman eat the fruit? And we go through a series of events that takes place between Genesis 7 all the way to 13. In verse 7, it says that Adam and the woman's eyes were open. So now they have a knowledge of what's good and a knowledge of what was evil. What takes place after has happened to every single one of us I know for sure at least got in trouble. Yo, Sam, I saw something misplaced. It wasn't there no more. What happened? Yo, bro. It wasn't me. It was Sarah. It was Sarah. It was Sarah. Usually, this is what takes place if you have a younger sibling or anything like that. Or if you have a sibling in general or a best friend, whenever you get in trouble, you always like to go ahead and put the blame on people. You know who exactly. You know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking. You know. But you always try and place the blame on another individual. So Adam was placing the blame on the woman, and the woman was placing the blame on the snake. Nobody was taking accountability. The most crazy part, though, happens amongst the chaos where Adam is like, you know what? Let me stop calling my wife woman. So while they're getting in trouble, Mans, by the way, Adam decides, you know what? Now I'll give you a name. And we finally get the name of our female character, which is Eve, meaning mother of all living, which we can find in Genesis 3 verse 19. So while they're getting in trouble, that's when Adam wants to give his wife a proper name. That's crazy. Consequences. For every choice, there is a consequence. For every cause, there is an effect. And what happened to them after they finished eating the fruit? Well, first of all, God had to come and confront them like, what's going on here? I thought I said don't eat the fruit. And then in verses 13 through 19, we just have a whole list of consequences that happened just because we ate the fruit. So the woman took up the fruit and brought it to her husband. We don't know if it's the same fruit or if it's a different one. So we don't know if she ate the whole fruit or if she just took a bite. But yeah, that's what happened. All because of some fruit, bro. They gave up perfection. They gave up paradise. They gave up eternity. You know how serious that is? So much more was taking place. In fact, let me just read you the list, okay? Let me just read you the list. In verse 14 of chapter 3, the snake now, the serpent that was playing around too much, instead of crawling around, instead of flying, we're not sure what the snake had the ability to move around in, but now we know the snake had to crawl on its belly. So no more other modes of transportation in verse 14. And then in verse 15 it said that some sort of seeds were destined to crush its head. So a seed that the woman would produce would crush the serpent's head. So we're not sure what that means right now. Verse 16, it says that women now have to suffer during childbirth because they decide to eat the fruit. Now, when bearing children, there's going to be consequences. And they would also be under the leadership of a man in verse 16. Verse 17, it said that God cursed the ground because of Adam. So he cursed the ground. So now men have to work even harder. In verse 18, because Adam decided to listen to his wife and eat the fruit, thorns and thistles grow, and we have to eat the herb of the field. No wonder why nobody likes no vegetables, no fruits, or anything like that. Whenever you're a kid, what's the one thing you don't like? Your veggies. You don't like things that come from the earth. Why? Because we weren't built to eat things from the earth. It said that we're eating from the trees. We grab from the trees. We're not digging in the dirt. So now we have to eat stuff. We have to work the field. Verse 19, men have to work harder to eat. That's why we have to work twice as hard. Sometimes from the day you're born to the day you die, we just got to work twice as hard. So since Adam and Eve gained the knowledge of good and evil in verse 22 of chapter 3, verse 21, God is like, yeah, your fig leaves that you made for your aprons in verse 7, those are not going to cut it, bro. You need actual clothes. He makes them clothes out of skin, coats out of skin to send them on their way. Verse 23, he's like, yeah, you guys are going to have to leave the garden. And it was for their own safety. If you really think about it, the punishment was death if they ate the fruit. That means death would continue to live on forever because their source of life was the tree of life. So that means death would live on forever. God did not want that to happen. So to protect them, he's like, yeah, you guys are just you're gonna have to try and make it on your own for now. And so in verse 24, he puts cherubims on the east side entryway of Eden. And our two protagonists for these couple of chapters must exit from paradise, and they were evicted from paradise. That's where chapter 3 of Genesis ends. I can't leave you guys hanging, so these are the questions for this video. Thanks guys for watching the video and staying to the end. Please don't forget to go ahead and comment down below the answers to the questions that were earlier on in the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Episode 4 is dropping next week. I'm excited. Thank you guys for this journey. 125. We're on our journey to 200 subscribers. So as always, you already know, stay wise. And remember, we're not living a fantasy. We're living a canon. Until next time.